Dylan with the Smart Economy Podcast. Today we're joined by Eran Barak, the CEO of Midnight. How are we doing today, Eran?
Fantastic. Great to be here on Permissionless. A lot of exciting stuff, interesting people, really having fun.
Yeah, actually the last conference I was at before Token 2049 was Rare Evo, so that was an awesome conference that your ecosystem helped facilitate as well.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of involvement from I'd say, Cardano ecosystem at large with Rare Evo, and it was just, again, amazing ideas with people come up every time. I'm just really impressed with the creativity of this industry.
So you mentioned that you're impressed with the creativity of this industry. I've been starting all these conversations with asking people their genesis story. How did you stumble on blockchain or crypto and know that this was a place you needed to build?
So I really need to go back here. Because I've been involved with, I'd say, communities and connections for many, many years, creating various technologies on voice over IP and networks and collaboration. My last, I'd say, big project was very much in the area of data protection for messaging and file sharing and all the video, et cetera, in the financial industry. Created a company called Symphony back in 2014. And we've helped connect the industry in a way that still protects the data, but allows them to collaborate and exchange ideas with one another. And it became kind of a home run, as we like to say. Became, it became a big success with a lot of banks, like over 1,000 banks connected, and in every kind of fashion. And that really made me think about how do we connect and exchange stuff in a more efficient way, and how do we kind of do that in a way that there is no kind of centralized governance, which kind of got me really interested in kind of blockchain technology as a whole. Over the years, like 2014, 15, I had some friends, doing all this kind of racks with, cards,
yes,
and, miners. What the heck is this going on? And I started getting interested. And when my kind of Symphony run came to a place where I said I wanted to take on the next adventure, I got to team up with another person who's probably of prominence in the web industry by the name of Gavin Wood, who asked me to come and help him with what he's doing with Parity and Polkadot. And that really opened up kind of for me the story and got me kind of the seat to see what's happening and what's really the thinking about technology and governance and everything else. And then Charles reached out and said, hey, I got this fantastic story about Midnight. It's really going to speak to you because I know you come from data protection and thinking about these things, but now blockchain can finally keep a secret. What do you say? And here we are.
So when you were at Symphony, were there any glaring issues with data and privacy solutions and centralized maintainers of these repositories? Were you concerned about areas of centralization while you were at Symphony, even though it was a success? I mean,
sure. So if you think about it, all the banks want to collaborate, they want to trade with one another, but they don't trust one another, similar to what we see in blockchain, right? And so the way we solved it is they all encrypted the data before it got on chain, in a way because they didn't trust Symphony either. We were the centralized actor. If we could see everything, we could bank run on the data, right? We could do some trading and stuff. So we had to find a way to allow for data to be exchanged, but not have any one party kind of get their hands on the information, neither Symphony in the center or the other parties really having control. And we find that use case is not just true for finance. It's true for many, many other things. Charles liked to say, do you want to have all your Amazon, deals and purchases out for everybody to see? Do you want to have your bank account? Do you want to have even your browser history for everybody to see, right? Even as individuals, we feel that some things should be protected or at least have a say of where they are getting disclosed. So I look at a lot of the blockchains today. You ask, why aren't we seeing more real world use cases for this? What is preventing us from crossing the chasm? We believe it's the lack of data protection, the fact that people aren't comfortable putting everything out there in the open. Yes, it provides trust, but can we achieve the same level of trust but still have selective disclosure on what we do? Then you've got a winner.
So you mentioned that Charles came to you with this project. So Midnight is born out of the Cardano ecosystem, but it is not focused solely on a particular blockchain. It's a multi-chain project focusing on privacy. Could you provide like a elevator, not even an elevator pitch, because I don't want to limit you to a 30-second, 4-story ride. What's the general overview from your perspective of what Midnight is and what it can be?
So the genesis story of Midnight is a couple years ago, I think it was like 2018 or something, where Charles and the team were thinking about how can blockchain keep a secret, because it was clear that that was a missing element in the current ecosystem. And they started building the technology and trying to figure out how to do that in the right way, because there are various ways to do that. You can, let's say, take your data and put it on chain encrypted, or do some other stuff, but then are you really protecting the metadata and how people are kind of moving things around? And it took multiple years and work with a lot of research universities to kind of figure this all out and bring it all together to a cohesive story that kind of holds. We just announced testnet. It's been fantastic. I'm sure you're going to ask some more questions about under the hood, but I'll say this because you said Cardano kind of behind the scene. Midnight is not built on Cardano. There's a beautiful story about a professor coming into the classroom and taking a jar and putting some rocks inside and saying, like, is the jar full? And then, put some more pebbles and then sand and then water, right? There's always room for more stuff. But what's really the lesson of this story is that some things cannot be put in if you don't start with those fundamentals. Data protection is not something you can add on an existing blockchain and say, voila, because you just can't. You will always have leakage of information. We had to build certain things from the ground up. And so Midnight is not built on the Cardano technology, but is what we refer to as a partner chain to Cardano, which means we work with Cardano. They provide us with some services. We provide them with some benefits. It's a very good kind of relationship, but we are equally open to servicing other blockchains, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana. There are so many ideas and fantastic friends here. I'm looking to collaborate with them all.
And so you noted that you have to start with a principle first of data protection. Were you leveraging like ZK technology, new sorts of research that came out? Are there going to be kind of innovative approaches to data privacy that Midnight is incorporating?
So one of the things that we do that I think is somewhat different than what you would see out there with ZK, a lot of people talk about ZK, but what they're really doing is using that technology to compress kind of attestation. So if, let's say, you have a layer 2 chain that wants to communicate back to the layer 1 chain, the state of the chain, compressing with a ZK proof is a very good way to accomplish that. But that has nothing to do with privacy. So people sometimes confuse saying ZK, it means privacy. Well, it depends on how you use the technology.
Sure.
The way we use ZK, other than compressing and doing roll-ups and all that kind of stuff, is we actually don't put the data on the chain. I know it's a little bit of a novel idea, right? Because we believe that if you put data on chain, you're creating some potential exposure or creating a treasure trove for hackers to say, hey, all the data is on chain, let's go hack that one. Instead, the private data actually stays in the wallet or adjacent to the wallet, and we only put the ZK attestation on chain, so you can get the utility without compromising the ownership or the privacy of your data.
And so where's this data stored? Is it in some sort of trusted environment? Because
you can put it in a trusted environment. If it's small enough, you can put it in the wallet. You can do whatever it is, but we don't put the actual private data on chain.
Got it.
By the way, the chain provides both public data and private data. So you got options, right? You can put some data, make it public. You can make it private. You can even put encrypted data on chain if you want it. I mean, you got all the options, and I think different use cases will call for different solutions.
So you said Charles reached out to you a few years ago. Testnet just launched a little over a week ago.
October 1st.
October 1st, so like, yeah, a week ago today. What are the lessons you've learned in the week that Testnet's been live?
So I'll tell you a little bit more about the DevNet. So when we were ready with the technology and said, like, okay, let's see what the community thinks. Let's see what they got up their sleeve. I wanted to bring in maybe 100 teams to come and try it out. So we sent out a filler and said, come on down. We got some exciting new stuff. Check it out. We were not prepared for what happened then. We had over 2,000 teams descend on us. We started going like 100 teams every week just because we couldn't sustain the inbound, and eventually we just gave up and just opened the doors and let everybody in. But they've been creating things from the very, I'd say, expected use cases like DeFi apps, because finally you can actually have financial information, use a blockchain or financial application without disclosing who is transacting or what are they doing. I don't know how a bank or any financial institution is going to use a blockchain that exposes all the transactions. I don't know how we're going to get over it. You need data protection. We also saw a lot of real world asset kind of application, DPN application, all sort of other stuff. Then we started seeing some more interesting things around identity, attestation, college diplomas, games, betting, all sort of marketplaces for digital assets. And then it started getting freaky with somebody saying, I want to do nuclear reactor measurement attestation without doxing where the reactors are or where the sensors are. I want to create, another company is like, I want to create drones that can coordinate missions without disclosing parameters. We started getting things that were like, I don't know if I want to, know all the secrets of what they're doing. In fact, factually, I can't even see what they're doing because it's all protected. So they're going at it. They're having fun. They're creating real world use cases. It's exciting.
Were you getting any sort of sense from these projects that wanted to do really freaky things if they're also exploring other privacy-oriented solutions? Did you get any insights for maybe some benefits that Midnight offers to them that other blockchain solutions didn't?
So I'll tell you this. Data protection is super important, but it's one element of what I believe you need in the real world. One other challenge that we see is cost predictability. So if you want to build an application, say on Ethereum, one day transaction is 50 cents, the next day it's $50. How can I have an operating budget when things are just so volatile? SLA. Who is going to guarantee me that this thing is up and running and always there and available? In the real world, applications and providers demand, or the users demand, that the application will always be there. There's no like, oh, sorry, the blockchain is busy, come back in 20 minutes. It has to run. So when we created Midnight, we were not just thinking of data protection. We were thinking about the collection of all the aspects, the elements that an application in the real world needs to have in order to be successful. And so while I see other privacy chains, and I'm cheering, by the way, for all of them, because we are all friends here, I think that unless they solve what the customers really need to be successful, they're not going to be able to cross the chasm and get real world applications kind of happening.
Totally. So have you seen any kind of major revelations from the migration from DevNet to Testnet?
It's been a week, but we did see a few things I'm just not yet able to share.
Got it. So kind of zooming out, who are the folks that you want to be talking with right now? Who are the teams that you're trying to attract to Testnet? Are you looking for retail users? Are you looking for more project builders, everyone under the sun?
It's never good to go everyone under the sun, I think. But I would love, given now that testnet is open, to invite project builders, applications to come and try out. I think we provide a fantastic platform for you that will make sure you are able to be successful and generate real business in the real world. At the same time, we are planning to launch the network early next year, and so there will be a campaign to invite retail users to come and be a part of our growing community and help kind of launch the chain in a decentralized way. And we will share more details soon about that. So I hope to see both the builders, the partners, the users. It's going to be a lot of fun.
A big theme of these conversations, being at a conference here in the U.S., is, and we have the elections coming up next month, has been kind of like the regulatory ambiguity of the crypto and blockchain industry in the U.S. in general, and working for a data privacy solution. Do you feel any sort of extra squeeze of potential fear for building this type of privacy-oriented network because of the potential negative outlook that some of our leadership might have? Or are you kind of agnostic to that sort of outlook from those who are in charge right now?
Never good to be agnostic. This is part of the world that we live in and kind of the real consequences. At the end of the day, the technology is not regulated. It's who builds the application and what type of application and what users in what jurisdiction that kind of regulate or define the rules that they would have to operate in. And so as we were designing Midnight, we were really thinking, how do we enable any type of application to be able to be compliant with the myriad of local laws and regulations? Mm-hmm. You're talking about privacy and how tricky that could be with regulators. One of our biggest challenges was, how do we shield metadata? Mm-hmm. Shielding, believe it or not, shielding data, that's not the hardest thing. As I said, just keep it off chain, put the ZK, we're done, right? The shielding of the metadata got to be a very tricky question, because if there's a shielded token, if I want to shield the metadata, I need to use a shielded token. If there's a shielded token, I can put $100 here, send it your way. We've just established a tunnel for money laundering. And the regulators, as we know, are going to look at this and go like, wait a second, dude, this is not okay. So we were racking our brain, how do we solve this? There's just no way to square this problem. You either, if you don't shield it, then you're exposing the metadata. If you shield it, kind of, you're in trouble. Damn if you do, damn if you don't. At the end, I'd say the revelation came from realizing we were trying to do too many things with the same asset. Mm-hmm. You have the same token that is both used for operating the chain and providing security and being the rewards, and maybe some people invest in it and doing staking, all in one go. And in fact, it's not good, because what you have is different people pulling in different directions, right? The people want to use the chain, want the token to be flat. Mm-hmm. Just, I want to know always how the people that want to maybe invest in the token want it to go to the moon. So now everybody's pulling in different direction. What we did is decide that we're going to actually have 2 tokens instead of 1. Here's how it works. You have one, I'll call it normal token, right? Unshielded, that everybody's kind of comfortable with, like any other token that we see out there. It can be used on, wallets and bridges, exchanges feel comfortable with it. Everybody knows how to do this. Holding that token generates a secondary token that is a specialized resource that has a very restrictive rules associated with it. For example, if it has $100 loaded on that shielded token, it cannot be transferred to another person. It also doesn't hold value, it decays. It has no holding a value as like a security. It has no futures market like a commodity. It's a resource like energy. And only that resource use is to operate the chain in a shielded way. So you're essentially getting the benefit of a normal token with all of the properties that everybody is comfortable with, and are able to get a shielded operating network that protects your metadata. It also gives you some other elements like being able to control the price, being able to provide SLA, all the other things that we said we need to find a design that really unlocks real world use cases. And that's how we did it.
The dual token model is really interesting with the shielded token and then the other one that can be traded freely on the open market and used outside the ecosystem. Kind of like zooming out, wrapping up, we're at Permissionless 3, a little over halfway through the day. I'm sure this isn't your first conference this year.
Indeed.
Are there any kind of key takeaways that you're walking away with so far from this event that you haven't necessarily seen anywhere else?
So I don't know if key takeaways yet. So I'm waiting. There are some really interesting stuff coming in tomorrow morning and some of the keynotes. But I'll say this: there is a much more diversity on the floor in terms of the people and different applications. Everything from analytics to tax to gaming to everything else. And it's interesting that all these players look at blockchain technology and believe that it will be part of their future and that it will unlock real change in the market that will allow people to act and have their own sovereignty over how they interact and use applications. And I'm just excited to be here, part of this, and look forward to connecting with as many customers and partners. So if you see us, come say hi. We'd love to talk to you.
And if they don't see you in person here, what's the best way they can reach out to you or the Midnight team?
Just go on the midnight.network website. We have Discord, Telegram, Signal, everything, all the channels. There's just a lot of community activity there. Happy to see everybody.
Awesome. Eran, thank you for your time today.
Great. Thank you.
And if you guys want to catch any of the other interviews we've done here at Permissionless 3, head over to the Neo News Today YouTube channel to see all of those videos.